If you like 200 Motels, the album I'm about to discuss, I highly, highly, highly recommend the 2016 release, 200 Motels, The Suites. It was a Walt Disney, I think it was at Disneyland or somehow Disney produced it. It's the Los Angeles Philharmonic. There's a choir or a choral performance group. It's not 200 Motels completely, but it's a really original, inventive sort of reimagining of the 200 Motels material. Check it out. It is well, well worth your time. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me on this channel. I am Shaggy, the opinionated hippie. I am currently ranking and reviewing every single Frank Zappa album from number one all the way to the last one, which shall not be named by me ever. I'm not ever going to say its name. It's the only one I despise. But right now we are on number 32, 200 Motels. Yes. Another Flo and Eddie entry in this. And the best Flo and Eddie of them. I know Chunga's Revenge already appeared on this list, but that is a great album that has Flo and Eddie. This is Flo and Eddie's best, if you ask me. This album is a soundtrack album. Back in late 70, 71, Frank started writing 200 Motels based on the actual experience of his band while filming it. Let me give my chronology. There's a lot to this, but while filming it or while performing it or while writing it, Jeff Simmons quit. So instead of letting Jeff Simmons quit, Frank wrote Jeff Simmons quitting into the material, and it became part of the story even before Jeff Simmons quit. And then Jeff Simmons quit, and then someone else stepped in. I think Martin Lickert, who was the Turtles bass player. No. Jim Pons was the Turtles bass player. Martin Lickert was a chauffeur. Anyways, I'm not going to go into that because this is about the album. This is about the music. I tried to watch the movie once. The movie was not very good at all. I don't recommend the movie. But the album I really, really like. It is a little more classical music, leaning on the classical music, probably maybe 60 classical music, 40% actual rock and roll songs featuring Flo and Eddie. Had only the rock and roll songs been featured, plus maybe a couple live ones from Fillmore East, and it had been a single album of just the Flo and Eddie material minus the classical stuff, this album would be phenomenal. This would be so much higher on this list. But as is, the classical stuff is okay. It's not great, but it's not bad. I didn't like it when I first got this album, but over the years, it has proved to be more and more enjoyable. But anyways, it is a double album. And essentially, it is the story of a rock and roll band and, all the motels they stay in, and there's groupies. And the rock material on here is undoubtedly some of Frank's best. You have Mystery Roach, which is kind of just this kind of rock and roll kind of boogie number. You have Lonesome Cowboy Burt, which is another country. Jimmy Carl Black singing a country song, a really good country song. Better than Harder Than Your Husband, if you ask me. Frank would update this in the 88 tour and do it on the best band, but I think this original might be better. You have the Shove It Right In, all three of those numbers, which when performed live did not have the classical stuff between them, but here you have She Painted Up Her Face, a classical interlude, half a dozen provocative squats, a classical interlude, Shove It Right In, a classical closure. These are three great songs about being a groupie and preparing for the night and going out to meet the guy and all that stuff. It's graphic. There's some language here that kids should not be listening to, but the music is great. It's heavy rock and roll. Frank's guitar sounds good, and Flo and Eddie's vocals and the harmonizing and the soaring lyrics that they sing are highly entertaining. You have the best sequence of Flo and Eddie material ever. You have Does This Kind of Like Look Interesting to You? Daddy, 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 which if the words were different or even with these words, possibly should have been a hit. Just a pure pop nugget. Penis Dimension, right? And then one of my all-time favorite, if not my all-time favorite Flo and Eddie number, What Will This Evening Bring Me This Morning, which is just has so many beautiful parts. The ending is incredible. Just a great pop, another great pop number. You also have Magic Fingers, which is he would do that again in like late 70s, and he would do that in 80 with Steve Vai. Another really good another good riff, a good little song. This one has a solo in it, a really good song. And then the entire album closes with Strictly Genteel, which on the album is just called Strictly Genteel, the finale. But Frank would release the finale part, the 200 Motels finale on You Can't Do That on Stage Volume 6. That is buried within this song. So you get Strictly Genteel with lyrics. When performed live, he never had lyrics in it. So every other release that you will hear will not have lyrics, at least when done by a Frank Zappa band. And then 200 Motels, the finale to close out. All great, great pop numbers. Flo and Eddie's best stuff. Hidden, buried, between, however you want, whatever you feel, a bunch of classical material. Some of the classical material is really good. Some of it you just kind of tolerate. Some of it, especially on the first album, the theme to Holiday in Berlin. Holiday in Berlin is one of my all-time favorite Frank songs. That theme was used a lot by Frank. And the beginning of that, Holiday in Berlin, is on here called Would You Like a Snack? And that has vocals in it. Flo and Eddie would sing those live in 71, I think it was, maybe 70. And then it would go into the second part of Holiday in Berlin, which the lyrics were about their time in Germany with the student demonstration and the protest and the riot that broke out there. This is just that first part. And then the Holiday in Berlin theme is also in the overture to 200 Motels and kind of pops up a couple times on this album. But yeah, it's a really good album. It's a really interesting album. It's one of those where even if some of the classical stuff doesn't grab you at first, I think with repeated listens, it does, like, it gets better. At least it did for me. But the rock and roll stuff, the vocal stuff, the Flo and Eddie stuff is fantastic. Like, it really is some of their best material. And I really wish, like, somebody would release a CD of just this material sequenced, so you have like maybe the Do You Like My New Car part and the groupie routine and other pieces that fit in here. I don't, it'd be great if that exists as an official studio thing, but it doesn't. But anyways, this is the missing thing that you're missing if you've ever heard of Fillmore East. This has some of the missing parts to that groupie story that's contained in there. Same with Playground Psychotics. This is also that missing piece. But anyways, it's a really good album, a double album. I know it's hard to find. I don't think it's anywhere on a streaming service. I looked to see what version of the streaming was out there. I have the actual album, LP. So if you can't find it, or if you can't afford to go out and buy it, do check out the 200 Motel, the suites that I talked about earlier. That is all over streaming services. That includes some of the dialogue and some of the vocals from this. So it's like a classical performance with, vocals. It's a typical Frank thing, one-time only performance, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a really, really good album. And I think it got nominated for a Grammy. I don't think it won, but it got nominated. So Frank, he became respected by the establishment. That's my takeaway. So anyways, yeah, 200 Motels, number 32. Just really an overlooked little, I know it's 32 on this list, but it's still a really, really, really good album. Like, it's really good, man. So it probably should be higher. I might move it higher if I ever do this list again, which I'm not going to. But anyways, yeah, check it out. Number 32, 200 Motels. Enjoy.